सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Lucky Mato would have seen the torturer's toolkit descend slowly towards him. A sewing needle, a nail file, and a syringe filled with the sulfuric acid that would be pumped into his eyeballs. Arrested with 8 other men on suspicion of planning a robbery, Lucky had been beaten all night in the police station before he was hogtied and laid out in the courtyard. Inspector Muhammad Wasimuddin tore a hole in one eye. Sub-Inspector Mankeshwar Singh followed up on the other. Finally, Sub-Inspector Binda Prasad poured acid into the wounds. 87 prisoners were later found to have been blinded by the Bhagalpur police in the course of what it called Operation Gangajal. But most managed to save one eye. Anirudh Tanti, arrested along with Lucky that summer night in 1980, even managed to save both his eyes. The Bhagalpur resident's wife, journalist Arthur Bonner, discovered, had managed to rustle up the 150 rupees needed to bribe the police, the price of emerging from the police station with his sight. Like they have this week following the controversial assassination of gang lord turned politician Atiq Ahmad, many ordinary people in Bhagalpur cheered. There was no public disapproval at all, journalists Farzand Ahmad and Dilip Bob reported from Bhagalpur. Then Chief Minister Jagannath Mishra noted that angry mobs had helped police gouge out the eyes of suspected criminals. After all, following the 2022 extrajudicial execution of suspects in a Telangana rape murder case, residents of the city showered rose petals on the accused police officers. The love affair with the encounter tells an important story about India. Large parts of the country exist in a state of endemic lawlessness, where the power of elites is experienced through the medium of terror. Lacking meaningful access to protection from the criminal justice system, the spectacle of the extrajudicial killing offers many in India the consolation of something lesser, a thing called retribution. From the 19th century, colonial authorities began battling criminal bands allied with local feudal rulers who had used them to collect revenues and dispense justice. These criminals were, if you like, the same as the police force. The growing territorial power of the East India Company, historian Mark Brown has noted, brought it into, I quote, direct competition with these semi-nomadic bands of trader plunderers. The Thuggi and Daketi Department, which was set up in 1830 and was the kernel from which the modern Intelligence Bureau was born, used brutal force to assert imperial authority over the bandit bands. The cash-strapped post-independence state found itself facing much the same problem as the British. In a 1953 report, the Intelligence Bureau lamented that the rural police, the backbone of the criminal justice system, had, quote, disappeared as an effective force. The old fear which the police used to inspire amongst criminals, it noted, had largely dissipated. Former Punjab Chief Minister Pratap Singh Khairon was not exceptional in being reputed to patronize dacoit gangs to maintain his power. On one occasion, he is even said to have prosecuted police officers who shot dead a group of criminals who were alleged to be responsible for the murder of 3 children. Large parts of rural Bihar, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh were, for all practical purposes, ruled by local landed elites through these kinds of criminal groups. Led by the legendary police officer K.F. Rustamji, then the Inspector General of Police in Madhya Pradesh, the state began reasserting its authority in the 1960s. Large-scale massacres, often enmeshed with regional caste tensions, threatened to set the nation-state on fire. Law enforcement efforts, though, relied on a simple tool. Since there is little hope of getting admissible courtroom evidence against a captured dacoit, the scholar George Flores dryly noted in 1962, the police are believed to be disinclined to seize and prosecute live prisoners. Following a series of brutal executions of landlords in West Bengal by Maoists, then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi again ordered the use of retaliatory terror. Kashipur and Baranagar in Kolkata are famous for having seen massacres of young men who were dragged out of their homes and shot in cold blood before being dumped in the river. The same story played out in Maharashtra. From the alleged extrajudicial killing of gangster Manya Surve in 1982, several hundred men with links to crime syndicates were simply shot dead. The encounter policy was not only not questioned at the time, the journalist Debashish Panigrahi wrote, it was warmly welcomed as a necessary step in breaking the back of the underworld. Every police department worth its salt needs its hitmen, former police officer Maxwell Pereira candidly recorded in his memoirs. Few of these cases of cold-blooded killing by the police ever ended in the criminal prosecution of officers. Arjun Goswami, the first prisoner to complain of being blinded by the Bhagalpur police, was denied legal representation by a sessions judge. 15 officers were suspended for their role in the blindings after the intervention of the Supreme Court, but only 3 were convicted. A senior police officer involved in the extrajudicial killing of a criminal told the anthropologist Beatrice Jauregui, the people in the towns and villages he had been terrorizing were so happy they threw marigolds on me and put me on their shoulders and carried me around. They queued up by the thousands at the station to thank me for doing what the courts could not. These realities influenced the counterinsurgency campaigns of the 1980s. Late in the summer of 1987, Rajinder Singh and 11 other members of his family were shot dead by pro-Khalistan terrorists. Fearing for his own life, the sole survivor, Joginder Singh, refused to identify the perpetrators in court, even though he had already lost every single member of his family. Lawyer K.T.S. Tulsi, who prosecuted the case, later wrote that the police, quote, challenged the evil in the open fields in a rain of bullets, but stood crestfallen on the doorsteps of the courts. Farooq Ahmad Dar, known on the streets of Srinagar as Bit Karate, lived a happy and quiet life in Srinagar after publicly bragging that he executed Kashmiri Pandits. Hundreds of people showed up at his wedding in 2011. The dilemmas presented by counter-terrorism were starkly illustrated by the extrajudicial execution of alleged Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists Ishrat Jahan Raza and Pranesh Pillai in 2004. The incident was driven by a complex series of operational decisions, including concern for the safety of intelligence sources. The decision to kill was sanctioned at the highest levels of the United Progressive Alliance government. Following each exposure of extrajudicial killings, there has been moral and judicial outrage, but little genuine introspection or accountability. Few people ask, why is this happening and what needs to be done about it? Following the prosecution of decorated Punjab police officers in 1996 for extrajudicial killings during the insurgency, the Print's editor-in-chief Shekhar Gupta asked this simple question. It is perfectly valid to question the methods used by the security forces, but isn't it more important to ask who is ordering them to do so? Liberal norms and laws were not designed for polities where savage violence burns down the basic institutions of criminal justice. The collapse of state institutions is among the first feature of all true crises of violence. The philosophers Mirko Bagarik and Julie Clark, among others, have even argued that torture and extrajudicial killings are justified to protect the state from collapse. Experts like Ian Turner disagree, arguing that such murders and torture end up corrupting the foundations of states and laying the basis for more chaos, not ending it. The problem in India is an even more complex one. Exceptions that might be justified in the small wars of Punjab or Kashmir have become embedded as part of the normal fabric of policing, as we see in Uttar Pradesh today. The emergency has become the everyday. Evidence my colleague Nikhil Rampal has shown suggests that extrajudicial killing doesn't actually solve underlying crises of violence. For all the thok-do aggression of police in Uttar Pradesh, gun-related offences, for example, have gone up steadily over recent years. And even where extrajudicial killing has restored order, it has corrupted police forces and hollowed out criminal justice institutions, imposing severe long-term costs on the polity and the economy. Would you, after all, invest in a place where the courts and police couldn't give you justice? The answer lies in giving India's chronically understaffed and under-resourced criminal justice system the personnel, training and technology they need. The state and central governments, as we've reported in the prints, are instead conspiring, and we can see from official data, to degrade whatever little remains of police institutions. The stark question is, will a criminalized political class ever build modern institutions that would, after all, contribute to their own undoing? At ThePrint, we believe in non-hyphenated, high-quality, fair and questioning journalism. Our exceptional ground reporting is something that we're very proud of, and we encourage reporters to travel across this country to find and tell stories no one else does. All of this comes at a huge cost though. To encourage and support our work, I request you to please opt for a paid subscription to ThePrint. You will be able to see how to get one on our screen, and you can follow the link in the description of this video to do so. We're also launching a host of exclusive benefits for you, like priority passes to subscriber exclusive interactions, opportunities to get your own articles published in our Your Turn section, and some especially curated letters, and so on. So please support our work, click on the link in the description and subscribe. I'm Praveen Swami and I'm National Security Editor of ThePrint. Thank you for watching Security Code.